Welcome to LSBF TV. My name is David Laws. I am wearing my lovely brand new AAT t-shirt. I think you'll agree it looks very good on me. I've been going to the gym. And we are going to be having a look at task number 3 for the MDCL paper. Now, what we are asked to do in this particular task is to look at a particular month, and we're going to be using absorption costing and we're going to be using marginal costing. Now, I remember as a student getting really confused between marginal costing and absorption costing when I first learnt this. And I remember the lecturer, who's obviously losing patience with me, like, David, and he said, look, marginal simply means one more. So, marginal means one more, one extra. So what does marginal costing mean? Well, marginal costing simply means the cost of one more. Now, if you think about the cost of one more, that will mean the variable costs. If you make one more unit, you need some more direct material. If you make one more unit, you need some more labour. If you make one more unit, you need some more variable overheads. You don't need any more fixed overheads because fixed overheads are fixed. So marginal costing, when we're working out the cost of a unit, we simply include what's the extra cost of making one more. So after a while, I got that. I finally understood what he was talking about. Now, absorption costing then simply means let's work out the cost of one more. In other words, exactly the same as what we've just done the marginal costing, but then let's also put a bit of money aside to pay for the fixed overheads. So the idea is every time we sell an item, we take the sales revenue, we pay off the variable overheads, we pay off the direct labour, we pay off the debt or direct materials, and there's a little bit left, the amount we've absorbed. What do we do with that amount? We put it in a safe. And then we sell the next unit, pay the labour, pay the materials, pay the variable overheads, a little bit left over, put it in the safe. At the end of the period, we open up the safe, and all the money that's in the safe can be used to pay the fixed overheads. So what we want to try and do is work out, well, how much do we need to put in the safe each time? Well, all you do is you say, what are your fixed overheads going to be? Because that's the amount of money that you need to end up with in the safe, divided by however you're going to absorb them. Now, it might be based on labour hours, it might be based on machine hours. It's often going to be based simply on units. So that's the amount that we need in the safe at the end of the period because we need to pay the rent bill. How many units are we going to make? Well, let's work out what we'd have to take from each one. Put it in the safe, end of the period, open the safe, there's all the money. That's the difference between them. Marginal costing simply says, oh, I need to pay you for the materials and the labour. Absorption cost is, yeah, let's put something aside. That's it. Right, we will come back to that. In this particular question then, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be looking at the operating profit statement. First of all, be very careful that you read the question carefully because it says we're doing month 3. Even though we are given information also for month 2 and for month 1. Now, there is a reason why we are being given month 1 and month 2. And the reason is because we will need the opening and the closing inventory. We are not told what the opening and the closing inventory are for month 2 and month 3. We're going to have to work it out. So I'm going to do that first. So the first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to do the inventory. So we are told that we've got month 1, we've got month 2, we've got month 3. Well, we are told that the opening inventory, we're actually given that, and we're told that the opening inventory in month 1 is 0. So that's given. Everything else we're going to have to work out. Well, how do you work out the inventory? Well, first of all, you have the opening inventory, and then you make some units. So we will need to be told the production. Now again, this is, different people do this in different ways, but for me, if I have to copy some information from a question, I find it easier to just copy everything in one go. So I need that row. What I would be worried about is I would be worried that while I'm in the middle of the exam, if I'm doing everything in month 1, I might come back and look at the wrong number in month 2. So that you might be much cleverer than me and you won't make that mistake. I know I will. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to copy those numbers down first. So I'm just going to put all the production figures in to begin with. So we've got, because fortunately I think they're all the same. Yeah, we're going to make 10,000 units each month. That's nice and easy. So we've got some opening inventory and then we add to it by producing some more. Now what happens? Well, some of those we will sell. And again, the idea is I'm simply going to take the sales figures, copy them all in one go, and then they're done. 8, 9, 11 is what we've got this time. So 8,000, 9,000, 11,000. So, month 1, we started with no units, we made 10, we sold 8. Where's the other 2? Well, they must be closing. If you made 10,000 units and you only sold 8,000 units, you've got 2,000 left over, they must be your closing inventory, which becomes your opening inventory for month 2. So we start with 2,000. In month 2, we make 10, but we only sell 9. We've got 1,000 extra. Now the closing inventory will not be 1,000 because you had 2,000 to start with. So you had 2,000 already at the beginning and you make 1,000 more than you sell. Your closing inventory is now going to be 3,000. Closing inventory's gone up. That becomes your inventory at the start of month 3. Month 3, you sell more than you produced. So your inventory will go down because you sold more than you produced. You sold 1,000 units more than you produced, your inventory goes down by 1,000, you end up with 2,000. Now the reason I've done that is because I need the opening inventory units, and the opening inventory units will be 3,000, closing inventory will be 2,000, and in month 10 we're actually given the month 3, I do apologise, in month 3 we're told that we make 10,000 units. So I needed those units. I'm going to do the marginal costing first, simply because I think marginal costing is a little bit easier. So I want to do that first. Right, we've got sales. Well, sales are going to be the same whatever method you use, 990,000. So I'll stick that in, and that's simply 11,000 units because that's what we sold in month 3 and the sales price is 90. You're given that. Again, remember we're doing, let's have another go at writing 90. We're doing month 3. So 990,000. So that's nice and straightforward. We need to value our production and we need to value our closing inventory. Right, so how are we going to value it? Marginal costing says that we need to value each unit at what's the cost of material, what's the cost of labour, and what's the variable cost. Now we are told in month 3 that materials cost 15. I'll write month 3 just so we're exactly clear what we're writing about. So month 3, we're looking at 15 for materials. I'm given that in the question. Month 3, I'm given 10 for labour. Variable costs. I am told a total for variable costs. I'm given 250,000. Now I don't want 250,000, I want the cost per unit. So what I need to divide it by is I need to divide it by the number of units. Now the question is, which units? Is it the production, 10,000, or is it the sales, 11,000? Well, you're talking about the variable cost of producing items. So this is going to be divided by 10,000. So it's the materials cost of production. The labour cost of production is the variable cost of production. So that will give me 25. A little potential exam tip. Potential. If you divided 250,000 by the sales figure by mistake, you divided it by 11,000, you're going to get a very peculiar looking number. It's going to be something like £24 and 0.9090, something like that. It's going to be a very strange looking number. Usually, you get whole numbers. So if you end up with something and you end up with a rather peculiar figure, then just double check it to make sure you've done it okay, because you might have done something wrong. So our cost of production in month 3, our variable cost, our marginal cost is £50 per unit. So £50 per unit. So my production costs will be 10,000 times 50, which will give me 500,000. My closing inventory will be 2,000 times 50. Remember, please, you are told that if you've got negative figures, you need to put them in brackets or you need to put a minus sign in front of them. You need to show that that's closing inventory and you need to show that you know that you have to subtract it. It's not cost of sales because you haven't sold it yet. It's in inventory. If it's in inventory, it hasn't been sold, so you can't include it in cost of sales. Now, what we now need to work out then is we now need to work out the opening inventory. Yep, so blah, 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 blah. Now it tells me somewhere about it. There we go. It says inventory is valued on a FIFO basis. FIFO basis. So in other words, the opening inventory that we've got, when was that made? That was made last month. That was made in month 2. So I've worked out £50 is the cost of making them in month 3. So all the ones I produced in month 3 valued at £50. All the ones that are in closing inventory have also been made in month 3. So they are also valued at £50. But the opening inventory, the 3,000 units that I had in the opening inventory, would have been made in month 2. So I need to know what the costs were in month 2. So in month 2, 15, 10, those two don't change, but what does change is the variable costs. The variable costs, 230,000 this time, over 10,000, which gives you 23. And in month 2, we had £48 per unit. So the closing inventory at the end of month 2 would have been valued at £48 because that's the ones that would have been made in month 2. They become your opening inventory for month 3. And so that's going to give us 144,000. So again, just be careful about that. Just be careful about that. So FIFO, the first things that you sell are the things that were there at the beginning. that means you made them in the previous month. So they would have been valued, the closing inventory in month 2, which is the opening inventory in month 3. The closing inventory in month 2 would have been valued at what we'll be spending in month 2. So we have 990,000 sales. Our cost of sales, 144 plus 500 minus 100 is 544000. Now with marginal costing, you notice there's one cost we haven't done anything with yet. We haven't done anything yet with the fixed production cost, so I've ignored that figure. I've still got to pay it, still got to be in my P&L. Marginal costing simply says subtract it at the very end. So just take it away at the end. So don't worry about absorbing it based on units. Simply say, there's what we produced. Let's look at the labour cost of 1 unit, the materials cost of 1 unit, the variable overheads for 1 unit. Let's look at those on their own, and let's simply then say fixed overheads, take them away in one go. So that means that we end up with a loss of 4,000. And again, it's a loss. Make sure you put the minus sign in there or the brackets in there for the loss. Now, for the absorption costing, the first difference is there's no fixed overheads, because what we're going to do is we're going to include them for all the units that we've manufactured. So they're going to go into the cost of sales straight away. So when we're valuing things with absorption costing, in effect what we're doing is we're saying, look, I've already included a little bit for fixed overheads. So you don't have to have a separate row for fixed overheads. What we're going to do is we're going to add them in as we go along. So we have got, this time, our absorption costing. Absorption costing. I suspect we'll need to do month 3 and month 2 again, so I'll have 2 columns just to be on the safe side. Now, under absorption costing, you still have to pay the labour. You still have to pay the materials. You still have to pay the variable overhead. That doesn't change. So the materials are still going to be 15 and 10, and in month 3, the variable overheads are going to come to 25 and 23 in month 2. So we've still got 50 and 48. That doesn't change. Now again, when I was, as I said to you earlier, when I was studying, I struggled with this. And again, I remember my lecturer saying to you, look, which cost is going to be lower, marginal or absorption? And I thought about it, and I said, well, marginal's got to be lower, because with marginal costing, all you're doing is you're saying, this is what it costs to make a unit, materials, labour, overheads. That's what it actually costs. Absorption, you're going to add something on. So absorption's always going to be bigger. The figure per unit's always going to be higher. So if you get it round the wrong way, you should know you've got it round the wrong way, because the marginal costing figure's always going to be lower. The marginal costing, the value per unit, because there's less things there. So absorption costing, we say, right, in month 3 we've got £50 a unit. But what we're also going to do now is we're going to put aside some money to pay the rent bill. Well, how will we do that then? Well, first of all, how much do we need to pay the rent bill? In month 3, it is £450,000. That's how much I need to collect. Well, where am I going to collect it? In some questions, you'll use labour hours. In some questions, you might use materials. But the most common one is what we've got here, which is to use units. How many units are we going to produce? We're going to make 10,000. Well, what we'll do then is we will add £4.50 to the cost of each unit. So what will happen is we will sell it, whatever we sell it for, £15 goes to the material supplier, £10 goes to the workers, £25 goes to the electricity company to pay the variable overheads, and we put £4.50 in the safe. Next unit, 15, 10, 25, £4.50 in the safe, £4.50 in the safe, £4.50 in the safe. We keep putting £4.50 in the safe. And then at the end of the period, we open the safe and we've got, hopefully, £450,000 in there. Whereas with marginal costing, you simply say, pay the materials, pay the labour, pay the variable overheads, and let's just write a cheque for £450,000 and hope we've got the money. That's the way that I always remembered it. So we've got £54.50 is the value under absorption costing. So we will have production costs in month 3. We've got 10,000 times £54.50, which comes to, what am I talking about? God, where did I get that? Talking nonsense, aren't I? That's not 45. That's not £4.50. It's £45. Duh. When I looked at it, I thought I'm a zero out. It's £95. I do apologise. So we've got 10,000 units. Sorry about that. It's Friday afternoon, and that's going to give us 950,000. That looks more like it. Closing inventory, again, will be valued at £95, so that's going to be 190,000. We have the same issue that we had with the opening inventory for the marginal costing. Opening inventory, those 3,000 units will have been made last month. So they will be valued at whatever we did last month. So we've already worked out the variable cost, 15, 10 and 23 comes to 48. The amount we absorbed last month, fortunately, is exactly the same. You spent the same amount, you made the same amount. So fortunately, that also comes to 45. But it could be, in a different exam question, it could be a different amount. So last month, we might spend a different amount and make a different number of units. In this case, it's exactly the same. So that comes to 93. And when we do our 3,000 opening inventory, that gives us 279000. So just to make sure, I'll just write this in just so everybody's happy. 93, 95, 95. That's where they've come from. That gives me a cost of sales 279 plus 950 minus 190. That comes to 1039,000. And that gives me a loss of £49,000. Again, remember, put your minus sign in to make it clear. We've done a budget. Now, one of the other things that you might need to just think about is, why have we got two different values? Why have we got two different values between these two different? Again, I haven't got time to go through it in great detail, but basically it's to do with your stock value. It's to do with your inventory units. It's to do with the change in stock. Yeah? Again, very roughly, the reason why these are different is because inventory. I'm old school, I still call it stock. So inventory has changed by 1,000 units. It's gone from 3,000 units in the opening to 2,000 units at the close. It's changed by 1,000. And the absorption per unit, in other words, the fixed overheads part, was equal to £45. £45 times 1,000 is £45,000, which is the difference between those two figures. So the reason it's changed is because of the fact in one of them you're absorbing overheads, so your stock's valued at more money. Now again, I don't want to go into that in too much detail, but again, that's a quick double check at the end. Don't worry about which one goes up and which one goes down, but a quick double check at the end is, what did you put aside per unit? £45. What did the units change by? The inventory changed by 1,000. 1,000 times 45. the difference between your two columns should be 45,000. If the difference between your two columns is something different, then you've probably got something wrong. If it is the same, it's a quick little double check. So the key thing is marginal costing. With marginal, let me go back so you can see it. With marginal costing, the key thing is you value each unit at how much it costs to make, and then take the fixed overhead to go away in one row. Whereas absorption costing, you're putting a little bit aside for the fixed overheads each time, and then you don't put it in again. Otherwise, you'd be putting it in twice. Yeah. So the idea then is, if you do your workings first, do your units first, get that sorted out, closing inventory, opening inventory, get that sorted out first, then do your marginal costing. What's the cost of making one more unit? Do that. Once you've done that, then do the closing, do the absorption costing, I do apologise. So do your marginal costing, cost of one more, get all that filled in, and then do your absorption costing, remembering fixed production costs for that month divided by production units for that month, or if it tells you to do labour divided by the labour hours that month, but it's always based on production, it's never based on sales. So you do your overheads absorbed, which will be your total, divided by your units. And as a quick double check at the end, the difference between the two will simply be how much per unit times how many units your stock exchange by. And if you do that, then you can double check that everything is okay. So again, the key thing is don't try and go too fast. Do it nice and slowly, do it logically. When you're practicing, get into the habit of doing it the same way each time, and you'll be okay. I look forward to seeing you again in the future for another LSBF TV.